Alrighty, welcome back to the episode of Two Plane Sports. And another one joins the 2024 class in Jayden Jackson, the four-star defensive lineman out of the state of Florida. As Brandon likes to say, this does not suck. If you watched us on our Tuesday live stream, um, obviously the sentiment was we felt like Jayden Jackson was going to go to Texas and maybe Miami or even Ohio State. I think, Jose, you pointed out that Ohio State is still looming out there. And all of a sudden, Todd Bates, all the haters of saying can't recruit, can't close out, can't win the big ones. I'm not saying he's the same as a David Stone, but he's obviously highly sought after. So we're going to be talking about his commitment, what he brings. But before we do, be sure to like, subscribe, turn the notification bell on, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Apple, Spotify, and TikTok. Everything's linked in the description below. So I'll just turn it over to you, Jose. What do you think the implications of Oklahoma flipping Jayden Jackson? I mean, I guess it's not a flip, but just the fact that they kind of came out as the dark horse and ultimately won out. And what do you think he brings to this 2024 class?
It definitely feels like a flip because Oklahoma didn't seem like they had an actual chance up until the last 24 hours. Then you started seeing crystal balls coming, starting with the Miami insider, and then it just started rolling. I think, like I said on Tuesday, and you mentioned it, like the sentiment wasn't like Oklahoma was even in the top three. It seemed like it was the other guys and then Oklahoma. Something happened. Todd Bates will really pull on those relationship strings. NIL, like anyone that thinks Oklahoma's not playing this NIL game, I feel like this proved you wrong. And this isn't even for one of the best defensive linemen. So clearly you know that they're doing everything they can to play it for a guy like David Stone and a Williams Nwaneri. But now you got a really big nose tackle that can come in and play that role that we saw in last fall wasn't there was not much depth there. You might have had one guy that could have played it at a decent level. Now you can develop Jayden Jackson to really help when you have when you have three guys playing on the defensive line because they want to have more DBs or an extra linebacker out there, whatever reason they have for having three guys. The biggest thing with him, and I mentioned it again on Tuesday, this makes it just seem more certain than before that David Stone is going to be part of this class. Like at this point, you have Xavier Robinson. You have his teammate in Jayden Jackson that plays right next to him at IMG Academy. Then you're potentially going to have Michael Patterson McDonald and a Caden Durham. Michael joining or committing on July 31st and then Caden Durham on August 25th. It would seem crazy to not land David Stone, or for David Stone and those close to him to not feel extremely comfortable with the people that Oklahoma is putting around David once he gets to school.
I agree, but this reminds me, I texted the group chat earlier when we were talking about it, but this is so similar to the Tassili Akana situation last year. It's just literally, it's reversed, because with Akana, it seemed up until 24 hours before he committed, he was going to Oklahoma, and then you saw the crystal ball start rolling in favor of Texas the day before, and then he picked Texas. So it is cool to get a flip again. Not really a flip, but it feels like a flip in the good guys' direction this year to take one from Texas in the last hours, if you will. And then obviously Todd Bates deserves a lot of credit, and I think the naysayers and the people who are negative on him are kind of a little more happy today. They're less down on him. But I also want to say David Stone, like you were mentioning, Hose, I think he was recruiting this guy too in favor of Oklahoma, even without being committed to Oklahoma yet. Because I remember Jayden Jackson put a tweet on Twitter weeks ago when he was at an OV for Texas, or maybe an unofficial. It doesn't matter. He was wearing all the Texas shit, and David Stone quote tweeted it and was like, "This ain't it, fam." Something along those lines, like this isn't it. And then, again, for the longest time, he seemed like he was going to go that way, despite what David said. And in the waning hours here, we got it to flip back to the good guy side. But kind of wonder if it was the whole time he knew he was going to Oklahoma and he was pulling a Peyton Kirkland or something like that. Just sometimes these kids like this attention stuff that's going on and to flip it at the last second. But either way, it's a great get for Oklahoma. It's a good day for the Sooners. Doesn't suck.
And a quick note on the Kirkland thing. Gary Hamilton also joined into those crystal balls, who was the guy that started the Peyton Kirkland to Texas last recruiting cycle. So clearly he knows what's going on the inside at UT.
He does, for sure. Now, looking at Jayden Jackson, according to 247, he's 6'2", 300 pounds already going into his senior year of high school. He projects, he's a nose tackle. And I think that Oklahoma went to bat and did everything they could. Obviously, they ended up winning out because, he will project. He might grow another inch or two. He might be 6'3", 6'4", or he just might still be 6'2", but he'll probably get up 320, 330, 335 somewhere in there whenever it's time to go play at Oklahoma in the SEC. He's got the frame. And, it's not a guy that Oklahoma is going to have to, maybe get him to 285 playing interior. It's not going to work in the SEC. This is one of the first in a long time prospects on the interior defensive line that has the build for the true nose tackle position. Seems to have been an issue for Oklahoma, especially in recent memory. I'm, way back in the day with Gerald McCoy and things like that. That's a different story. But in the last 10 years, Oklahoma hasn't really had that great of a run stopper. I know Gallimore's been there and a few others, hit or miss, but there's never been any consistency. So obviously Oklahoma and Venables and Todd Bates, they've identified a problem. And last year, Brandon, you didn't get to watch, the football season, but you watched plenty of other seasons and not much really changed as far as people were gashing 5-6 yards of carry up the middle, no big deal, opening the defensive line, pushing them around. Jayden Jackson immediately fills that void of, I'm not saying that, he's the reason why Oklahoma is going to be, having a dominant defensive line, but he is very much someone that could project to be in the rotation at a very early, freshman, sophomore year, bringing in that bigger size. I think that is crucial. And obviously you want a Williams Winnerian and those guys, but you need a true nose tackle. And he is that guy. This is something that Oklahoma's been needing for a while.
He starts the process for sure. I think 2 or 3 years from now, down the road when we're playing SEC ball and we're playing at a high level, which I think we're going to be doing, we're going to look back on this 24 defensive line class because I think 4 of the starters, 2 years down the road, if we can foreshadow, are going to be along that defensive front are going to be from the 2024 class. I think, this class is going to be so big for Oklahoma in the future. Especially along the D line. It's going to be the biggest win of the entire class for us because that D line is going to be scary. I mean, it's going to be really, really good on the edge and on the inside. And it's mostly going to be from kids from this class. Obviously, PJ is going to play, and he's the 2023 class. But I think 3 or 4 of the guys that are going to be really, really relevant to stopping the run and also getting after the quarterback are going to come from this 2024 defensive line class.
Definitely. And in this class, you kind of saw what it could have been while the 23 class was being put together. Because if you guys remember, it was a little over a year ago when they do all their junior events. They had guys like Colin Simmons on. David Stone was going to campus. Nigel Smith had been going to campus. Even Brown Schuler, who ended up going to Clemson. Like, they had guys that were top 100 top 10 defensive linemen in the 24 class visit a year ago. So it just does go to show, even though they weren't completely behind on recruiting in the 23 class, they were playing catch up with some of these top players when it comes to trying to get them to be comfortable with the coaching staff and being in Norman and the idea of playing as a Sooner. Now they got 2 whole years to recruit this 24 class, and seemingly, obviously it's way too early to tell, this is the a second guy on the defensive line. He's joining Wyatt Gilmore, but you've got what could be one of the best, if not the best, defensive line group that's going to be impactful for many years to come for Oklahoma. And that also helps with recruiting. As long as Venables and Bates and Chavis can do at Oklahoma what they were able to do at Clemson, you're going to have a much easier time recruiting. in 2-3 years, because now players will see, all right, this is a place where I can go get developed at that position and go to the NFL and be a top draft pick, a first round draft pick, second round draft pick. Because being drafted in the NFL is ultimately their dream. But if you can show them that Oklahoma or Georgia are going to be the places that are going to put you in the first, second, third round, they're going to take that over I might get taken in the 5th, 6th, or 7th.
And, the fact that, some sites have him as a 3-star, some have him as a 4, he's a composite 4-star and 247. At the end of the day, the ratings don't mean everything. When this guy holds 32 offers, and Ohio State and Texas and Oklahoma and Florida and Miami are all vying for his, him being in this class. Obviously, he's very talented. I think he's a solid 4-star. I think he'll probably rise as well as he plays his senior year. But we talked about also the path of, in the 23 class, getting those roots into the state of Florida. This is yet another guy coming out of the state of Florida, out of the IMG Academy, and hopefully David Stone joins the fold too. They're truly building a lot of connections to the state of Florida. And going to the SEC, you'll be playing against the University of Florida and schools near Florida. Oklahoma's going to be, they've always had a decent pipeline to Florida. It's only going to get better, and it's only going to get easier as you get more guys from Florida on the roster and you show that you can go to the NFL. So it's a huge addition. I agree, Brandon. I think this is going to be a historic defensive line class. If it goes the way that we're hoping it goes with Nigel Smith, Williams Winery, David Stone, you add Jayden Jackson, Wyatt Gilmore, and you throw in 1 or 2 more guys, this could arguably be the best defensive line class in the 2024 class as a whole. I'll take that against pretty much every other college recruiting class.
No, if you get Stone and Winery, I think you'll be hard pressed to find a better defensive line class anywhere in the country. Just almost on the backs of those 2 guys alone, and then you've got the other guys you mentioned with Smith and obviously Jayden Jackson here, Wyatt Gilmore. That is a loaded defensive line room.
Yeah. And for recruiting, like you're talking about the pipeline that's getting built from Florida to Norman. A big thing that people were concerned about was, can Oklahoma still have staying power in western states like Nevada and California, Arizona, and they're still recruiting those. You have a guy that's currently the first commit of the 24 class is in Arizona. They're recruiting California heavily. Maybe it's not as heavy as Lincoln Riley was, but he's now there in Oklahoma, now has more of a brand seemingly nationwide rather than just one direction of the country, and they're pulling the best talent from all over the country to go to Oklahoma.
Yeah,
except Rhode Island.
Except Rhode Island.
Yeah. Can't get that figured out yet.
And I know technically speaking, Phil Picciotti is from Pennsylvania, but he did come from the IMG Academy. So you got Phil Picciotti in 23, Jayden Jackson 24, and hopefully David Stone joins the fold. That's building a pipeline to the IMG Academy, just kind of like how the Buckeyes have done being from out of state. They have really built a good pipeline, and Oklahoma's becoming a force down there. But that's all I got. Obviously, I'm pretty pumped. It's always good, as you said, Brandon, to be on this side of it. Obviously, last year with Cecilia Kana was less than ideal, but it's nice to get a win like this. Do you guys have any final thoughts, or you want to do the end of the video?
Jayden Jackson thoughts, boys. What do we think? How excited are you? It's a big get. Good day.
I think this is going to be an impactful commitment when we look back on it. I agree with you guys. So I'm pretty darn excited. So be sure to do the NVIDIA challenge. Let us know what you guys think. Be sure to like, subscribe, and turn that notification bell on. Follow us on all of our social media, and we'll catch you guys next time.